The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash. Episode 24, Secret of Atlantis by Fizzy Orange. Chapter 10. Lyra, please! You have to fight it! Pleaded Bonbon as the cow shark that used to be her mare friend swam towards her, arms flailing about. Just before the four appendices could grab her, Trixie, flying next to her, pulled her by the tail. The green cow shark turned and tried to reach Bonbon again with its thin, elongated arms, but only managed to grab empty water as Trixie changed course at the last second. Bonbon lost sight of the Lyra cow shark for a few seconds before she found herself face to face with Trixie, holding her by the shoulders. She could hear the echidna's laughter echoing across the ocean, clearly amused by the dance she just did with her new minion. "Take hold of yourself!" said the blue mare, glaring. "We know the spell isn't permanent. We just have to keep her away from that monster over there long enough, and she'll turn back to normal." Before Bonbon could answer, she was quickly pulled aside by Trixie. This time, not to avoid one of her mare friend's new arms, but to dodge a blast of dark magic aimed at the pair of them. This movement, however, put them on a direct collision course with said transformed mare. Ditzy came out of nowhere with Scylla, and the two caused the Lyra cow shark to crash into the sea floor, kicking up a cloud of sand that obscured her form for a second. "How many times do I have to say it today?" asked Ditzy, panting from exertion. "You can't help it if you get captured. Don't make me repeat myself again, or I'll be very cross." For an instant, Bonbon felt like her mother had just scolded her. She took a surveying glance around her. She saw Trixie, whom she never really gotten that well with in the past, but was a true friend to Lyra. That there was no doubt. She had known Ditzy for years, and knew the Pegasus had a protective streak a mile wide when it came to those she cared about. Then there were the two new ponies, Rock Beauty and She Shanty, who had apparently met Lyra while they were all captives of the cow sharks. They hadn't known Lyra long, but they made enough of an impression that they were willing to come back here to help her. Finally, there was Scylla, who was rather a tough type that Bonbon wasn't fooled by her tough ads. The mare pony Lyra clearly cared for her clan. Bonbon mused that she reminded her of raindrops in a way. These musings only took about a second to flash in her head, but it was just enough for the Earth Pony mare to reestablish her resolve to save her Lyra. She was still scared, and she didn't feel like a hero, but she wasn't going to run away now, not without the love of her life. Now Scylla was charging the mad monster with a magical doodad. Score 1 for the raindrops comparison. Then again, it was far more reckless than the stoic weather mare usually was, so maybe score 1/2? But Bonbon didn't have time to appreciate the reminders of home. A slender green arm shot out from the cloud of sand and grabbed the nearby Scylla by the tail fin, slamming her to the ocean floor, where she disappeared into the kicked-up silt. "Scylla!" called the panicked Rock Beauty as she dived into the cloud, only to find herself swatted away by a slap of the cow shark's muscular tail. The little mer pony ended up being caught by Sea Shanty in the mid-trajectory before she could hit a nearby rock. "How about you join my army, Scylla?" asked Echidna, her toothy maw distorting into what Bonbon assumed was a sneer. A struggling Scylla was raised from the bottom of the sea, held up by the four arms of the creature that used to be Lyra. The menacing half-boar creature held up the jellyfish lantern, clearly intending to use it. "I won't let you! Society's not the only one who can do magic missiles!" boldly declared Trixie, grabbing two of the monster's attention. When her horn glowed, and 5 shimmering rainbow projectiles appeared all around her, all aimed forward. Echidna didn't seem to feel threatened by the display, however. As a response, the round lure at the tip of the stalk, sticking out of her forehead, glowed a dark violet color, and a high-pitched hum began to resonate in the ocean. This confused Bonbon for a second, before she heard Trixie wail in pain, the blue unicorn clutching her head, clearing suffering. The shiver of magic around her horn flickered. 5 mythic missiles just vanished quickly as they appeared, Trixie unable to sustain the illusions. "Trixie! What's going on?" asked the Earth Pony as she felt the burst of panic. Again. Trixie was clearly in no position to give it a coherent answer. "It hurts! It hurts! Make it stop!" You think you are the first unicorn I've encountered your infantile board. Now that I am in my true form, none of your little tricks matter. Bonbon turned to Ditzy for guidance, only to gasp when the Pegasus vanished. The Earth Pony had no idea when Trixie had replaced her friend with an illusion, but she didn't have time to wonder where the real Ditzy was, because he only appeared a few feet to the side of Echidna. Pegasus was swimming like a mare possessed, and closed the distance fast. Echidna spotted her, but couldn't react in time. With a show of anger Bonbon had never seen the male mare display, so he landed a forehoof right in the side of the monster's face. Bonbon could swear to her dying days that she saw a smirk on the gentle Ditzy's face when the hit landed, that one of the creature's fangs had broken on impact. The violet glow around her lure went out immediately. Echidna's own spell clearly disrupted by the sudden assault. Ditzy's wings suddenly flared out, an unseen force of a stray current pushed her forward, with the kind of ease that would put to shame any professional hoofball player, as he grabbed hold of the mysterious jellyfish lair and made a full effect. "Get back here, you pest!" growled Echidna, turning her focus from Ditzy. Bonbon was stunned to see the whole confrontation suddenly devolve into a schoolyard game of keep away. Echidna sent a tendril of violet aircy over her lure to grab Ditzy, only for the Pegasus to pass the prize to Rock Beauty. The cow shark that used to be Lyra threw away Scylla like a rag doll to give chase, only for Sea Shanty to get involved. Scylla, who quickly recovered from her bearing, immediately joined the game. The poor candy maker even felt a mile around place than usual. Thus, when the crystalline orb was sent her way, she was completely unprepared. Seeing the two monstrous forms of the cow shark and Echidna turn toward her caused Bonbon to panic. She knew she couldn't let the bad guys have the item, but they were now blocking any passing opportunity. So, she did the first thing that came to her mind. She smashed the ancient, millennia-old relic of untold power against the rock. "There! Now you can't have it," shouted Bonbon triumphantly, as shards of crystal flew off around her in slow motion. Every pony else in the scene just stared at her in shock. Even the bad guys stopped moving. Trixie's jaw looked like it wanted to scrape the bottom of the ocean. And Scylla's left eye looked ready to vibrate out of her left socket. Echidna's face, though, seemed to have been frozen in horror. "What? Did I do something wrong?" asked the Earth Pony, confused. She looked at the piece of the lantern still in her hoof, but recoiled in surprise as a pulsating ball of purple light floated out of the pulsating piece of carved coral. She tossed the piece aside and watched the old phenomenon in awe. It was about the size of a cantaloupe, and seemed to fluctuate in hue to the beat of an unseen force inside the ball itself. It looked like something was trying to hatch from the egg inside made of gum. The orb seemed to float in place for a moment, before slowly making its way towards Echidna and her minion. Bonbon thought this was bad, but to everyone's surprise, the villain started to swim away in terror. "No, stay away! Stay away!" she pleaded. The cow shark began to moan in pain, dark energy coursing throughout its body in a manner similar to what happened to Skeetus earlier. Bonbon looked on with a mix of relief and worry, as the energy was seemingly ripped off of Lyra's body, flying to the orbits it passed by. The passing orbs led her behind her mare friend, back to her normal self. Echidna and the orb were kind at the sight. Bonbon simply rushed to Lyra's side. "Lyra! What's going on? What's happening?" Trixie asked, confused. "The power in the lantern is trying to become whole again," commented Scylla. "And that's bad, right?" asked Trixie. "I'm assuming it's bad, because the bad guy who would want the power is running away from it now." Scylla nodded. "Very bad." Ditzy looked between the pair and the orb. "What do we do?" Echidna had turned tail, forgetting about her enemies, and was swimming away as fast as she could, only for a tendril of Rarity to shoot out of the ball and grab her, making her convulse in pain and halting her escape. The creature screamed and pleaded with a strange energy as they were drawn closer and closer together. From above the reds, more tendrils of Rarity seemed to fly from the sight of the nearby battlefield. "There's nothing we can do." Zane was panting. Fighting underwater was hard. She couldn't get the speed on her strikes she wanted. She constantly had to make sure she had something solid under her before attacking. And there was just too many of these damn monstrosities. Some of them didn't even seem to make sense. Whoever put a crocodile head on a shark was clearly running out of imagination. Charybdis and her were doing their best to coordinate the freed prisoners, but none of them were in top condition. But they had to hold on, as Dusky Sack and Sea Racer were bound to show up soon enough with a combined force of Sea Pony and Mer Pony. Though at this point, Zane just wanted an opportunity to slip out. And he had found Ditzy Dew and the others were currently rescuing Lyra Heartstrings at the same moment. As soon as reinforcement arrived, Zane figured that was enough to repay the debts she felt she owed. The element bearers. Plus, all the seawater was going to wreak havoc on her mane. She wasn't particularly vain by nature, at least not so more so than any other good-looking mare was, but it just wasn't possible to impersonate a high-society airhead without a properly maintained mane. Zane's musing was interrupted when a high-pitched hum began to resonate throughout the ocean, coming from somewhere beyond her line of sight. She gasped in pain as the sound seemingly resonated through her horn, straight into her skull. It was incredibly painful and distracting, a perfect combination for stopping a unicorn from casting any spells, or from doing anything else for that matter. In reflex, she grabbed her head and found herself grabbed by one of the cow sharks. She clearly couldn't see which one, set her eyes in pain, but it was one with big, hairy arms. Then, almost as suddenly as it started, the hum was gone and her captor was in the back of the head by one of the mer ponies. Unfortunately, this does not result in Zane being freed. Instead, the burly cow shark decided to use her as a bludgeoning weapon as she was swung around to saw away the offending mer pony. That was a thoroughly unpleasant experience, as Zane wished more than ever she had never come to Cayo El Bayo in the first place. Still disoriented from being weaponized, Zane found herself thrown into a group of fires, and it ended up in a pile of hooves and flippers at the bottom of the ocean. When she freed herself from the limbs of her allies, the cloud of silt they had kicked up found all the cow sharks convulsing in pain. The energy of the spell, holding them in an unnatural form, was apparently trying to escape their bodies. As one of the magical energy flew out each of the cow sharks as long tendrils of purple energy. They left behind a group of unconscious sea ponies and mer ponies, all of them immediately besieged by their families and friends, seeking to help their missing loved ones. It was a fairly surprising miracle, but not an unwelcome one. See beauty! So cried Charybdis, rushing to the younger sea pony's side. Sea Beauty was a light sea green pony, with an unkempt-looking tuft of yellow hair on her mane. Zane mused that she looked a lot like Ditzy Dew, explaining how maybe the sea pony Lyra had taken so easily to the Ponyville male mare. Zane wasn't usually into mushy stuff, but she had to admit it was heartwarming to see what she assumed was a mother reunited with her child like that. To all it was seen, it made Zane think of her own family. She couldn't have any of that. Well, I better go, she said to herself, dreading the journey. The shore wasn't particularly far. This was going to be a long walk back to get to Cayo El Bayo. Hopefully, with a little luck and lots of charm, she could find another boat and hitch a ride back. Good luck with the rest, Little Moon. Lyra had a headache. It wasn't a terribly fat sensation to wake up to, but she partied with Cherry Lee in the past, so it wasn't a particularly new one. The taste of salt water on her lips reminded her that she was still underwater. There was also a certain hit of sugar thrown in. There was a familiar smell, and also a presence punctuated by happy sobs. She opened her eyes to realize Bon Bon was hugging her tightly. What happened to me? I feel like I missed something, she said groggily. Lyra intensely admitted in detail that she also felt hungry. The only thing coming to her mind was fish. Why was she hungry for fish? This wasn't the first time she felt craving for some other animals' flesh. It felt that twice was entirely too often during a pony's life. And she had been transformed into something carnivorous again, because that was not a habit she wanted to pick up. There's nothing we could do. She heard Scylla answer some pony. Bon Bon began to answer between sobs. That monster, she... The answer would have to wait, because a howl of pain distracted both mares. Lyra spied the echidna a fair distance away, being faced by a ball of Rarity the same color as the jellyfish lantern. Crackling arcs of dark Rarity were flying from within the ball and into the mismatch of the aquatic creek monster, each one causing her to scream in pain. Oh boy. You know, guys, the thing is, there are 3 chapters left, so you know this isn't the end! She was clearly trying to swim away from the ball of Rarity, but it kept following her, slowly catching up to her every time she was racked by pain. More swirls of mysterious magic were flying in from beyond the nearby rings, and they could orbit the pair, creating a rapidly swirling ring of light. The seat of the constricting echidna slowed down. Lyra could only see one thing at the spectacle. What the hey? Your mare friend here broke the jellyfish lantern. The magic inside is trying to find a vessel in the pit echidna, explained Scylla, having to raise her voice over the cacophony of crackling and pain scream. This is the magic power of an ancient being, maybe Nearest himself. His original host is long gone. No, it's too much! Too much! Hell, Echidna, as the last bit of dark energy from over the ridge joined the whirling wing. Echidna tried to run away by swimming over a rock formation, but the magic caught with her and began to enter her body. The screaming, half-born creature fell to the bottom of the ocean beyond the rocks, and a sound, not like an explosion, resounded as a large cloud of silt was kicked up. All became silence. Everybody stood stock still, staring at the cloud and rock formation, still reeling from the resident confrontation that Lyra clearly missed. Finally, it was Trixie who broke the silence. Did she just blow up? She asked, confused. As if to answer her, a sound was suddenly heard. Lyra's first instinct was to describe the sound as a roar, but it didn't resemble any roar she had ever heard. More like two metal blades rubbing against each other, inside a metal box or barrel. Whatever it was, it just felt inherently unnatural, twisted, and just plain wrong. Oh my god, it's Gigan. Rarity gasped. Look! She said, pointing to the cloud. A dark shape began to rise from the rock formation. A dark, green, sinuous shape, like a snake or a sea serpent. As thick as a pony's barrel, and about 6 to 8 feet in length. Its head broke through the crowd to let out a howl, similar to the sound heard previously, but without the bizarre echo from before. Its head was pointed to the top, covered by what seemed to be a thick layer of shiny reflective armor in a darker green. It was devoid of its eyes entirely, and a small opening when it howled, with at least 2 rows of small but sharp triangular teeth. I don't think she exploded, Trixie, commented Ditzy. The blue unicorn was visibly stunned by the turn of the events. She turned into a sea serpent! Maybe not just one, Sea Shanty said. A second head rose from the bottom, then a third, a fourth, a fifth. The father made a lift. That joke was horrible! All 5 heads roared in unison, producing the exact same sound that heralded the appearance of the first head. I realized that this wasn't 5 different creatures, but rather a single, 5-headed entity. Before she could share this revelation, all 5 heads rose up, revealing a massive shape behind him. It was a large, round mass, easily as wide as a train cart was long, vaguely shaped like the bell of a jellyfish, only green and darker in the bottom half, with the 5 heads persistent around its evenly rounded shape. This is definitely not good. Not good now at all, commented Scylla, slowly backing away from the massive abomination. Before their eyes, a massive shape began to shift, the body slowly moving towards the surface while its head bent downward. When the body was aimed directly facing Lyra and her friends, a massive eyeball blinked open. It was bigger than Lyra herself, bulging out slightly, with green iris set within a disturbing golden sclera. The massive eyeball shifted erratically, its unexpressive glare running all over the landscape, before it focused directly on the ponies that had caused it to appear. Lyra felt the glare was piercing right into her soul. The people shrank once again and howled, its entire body seemingly shaking with rage. Yeah, I think I'm done being a hero now, said Bon Bon. Chapter 11. The roar of the creature formerly known as Echidna really didn't help Lyra's pounding headache go away, but the moment the sight before her was enough to distract her from it, at least a little. The massive monstrosity moving itself to float upright, its large eyeballs staring, unblinking straight up. Its heads, for the lack of a better term, to describe a tentacle with a shark's mouth, began to whip around in an erratic pattern, sending its several massive ponies scrambling for safety. One of the heads snapped its maw towards Ditzy, who dodged at the last second, much to every pony's relief. Another one screeched the bomb of a large depression that used to be the Rarity Kidna's slave work camp, kicking up a large amount of silt and sending its larger pieces of debris flying around as it did so. Bonbon grabbed her mare friend and pulled her behind a rock outcropping as a piece of a fractured column hurled towards them. Lyra sighed in relief and gave the earth pony a hug and a quick kiss on the cheek. Being reunited after all those stressful hours remained amazing, but it was no time to bask in that feeling. Channeling her magic, Lyra recalled her lyre to her side. She wasn't sure where it floated off to after her confrontation with Kinda, but she didn't want it getting broken in the confrontation. She might need it before this was all over. "We could use your fancy magical friendship beam right about now," commented Bonbon, peeking over the outcropping at the jellyfish-like creature. "Can't happen unless Princess Luna suddenly teleports in with the others in tow," replied Lyra, secretly hoping for that just to happen, however unlikely it might be. "I take Princess Luna too. I'm sure she can take care of this thing." "Well, she's not here." The unicorn also looked over the outcropping and gasped, quickly strumming her lyre and releasing a brilliant golden lasso of magic. It wrapped around Shanty and pulled the aquamarine sea pony out of the way, just before she could be hit by one of the heads swinging about. Rock Beauty was actually coming up behind her for the same reason, and the two collided mid-pole, ended up landing right next to Lyra and Bonbon in a heap of limbs. "Oh, sorry about that," said Lyra, wincing. Shanty got up first, her eyes more misaligned to Ditzy's. Yeah, I'm better than that thing hitting me," she said, managing to say, before swinging her gaze a good shake of her head. Her lion pink mane went crazy and obscured her vision before she could move it out of her field. "Shanty, Rock Beauty, meet Bonbon, my mare friend," explained Lyra. "Bonbon, those are Shanty and Rock Beauty. We were prisoners together." "Nice to meet you," replied Bonbon, thinking this was an odd time to do proper introductions, but humoring her mare friend nonetheless. "The gray one over there is Ditzy, and the blue one is Trixie," added Lyra, looking at Shanty. The gray color merpony pointed up at Scylla. "And the dark blue merpony with the yellow mane Cilia, the leader of our pod." Lyra smiled. "Great, we're all out to speed now." It came down choosing that exact moment to roar, followed by the sounds of rock crashing, brought the smile down in a second. "So, what are we going to do now?" "What are we going to do now?" asked Scylla, to no one in particular. Scylla, Ditzy, and Trixie were swimming as best they could around the former echidna, constantly trying to keep her from moving far in any direction. The question of what next to do felt to Trixie like it had been asked 100 times since the morning. "Just, keep it distracted so it doesn't go after the free prisoners!" called Trixie from another flank of the monster, dodging ahead. The monster's head was faster than one would expect a creature that size, but the smaller ponies proved much more maneuverable underwater, keeping them ahead of the heads, at least for the moment. The creature was growling, letting discordant roars go at various intervals, clearly annoyed by all the little creatures swimming around it. "How long do you think we can last?" replied Ditzy, her wings catching a strong current and carrying her in a circle around the creature. The merpony and Ditzy were keeping up fine, but Trixie was showing signs of fatigue. She really needed to step up her exercise regimen if she was going to continue saving ponies on a regular basis. Trixie's horn began to glow. "I can try something!" At that, about half a dozen copies of Trixie appeared all around Echidna's now deformed body, gleaming at its various heads. The blue mare was confident. Her experience in the water had already improved her illusions, making them feel a lot more natural. She hoped these simple instances could keep the behemoth from chasing off after its former slaves long enough for their group to come up with a plan. The illusions did nothing. None of the heads seemed to react. One simply shot towards Ditzy, barely clipping the side of the illusion. "Trixie, it's not working!" shouted Pegasus, barely keeping out of reach. Scylla brought her forehead down on top of the nearby head, using the leverage to push herself away from the razor-sharp rows of teeth. "Those things have no eyes, you idiot!" Trixie stopped for a second, if not less, to feel dumb, to quickly switch gears. Trixie concentrated, bringing to her mind the sound of her friends' voices. She had been around Scylla, Rock Beauty, and Sea long enough to be able to mimic them, but she knew Lyra, Ditzy, and even Bonbon well enough. Soon, phantom sounds came out from all around Echidna. "Over here!" came Ditzy's voice. "This way!" called Lyra's voice. "Hey!" said Bonbon. "Can't catch me!" added Trixie. The monster's head was roared in unison and began to trash about blindly, grasping with their maws at the impossible voices moving all around it. One head smashed into a small canonical building by the side of the work camp, shattering it to pieces, while another hit the ground, causing a low sound to echo across the sea. Scylla, Ditzy, and Trixie all swam around the hiding place of their friends for a quick meeting. Lyra started to feel Trixie's visual illusion from their hiding spot by the rocks. Thankfully, her headache was subsiding, and she could start thinking a bit more clearly. She had no idea what Echidna was supposed to be, as she had never heard a creature like this, or anything even close to it in any legends. The heads did remind her of leviathans, a species of sea serpent thought to have gone extinct around the founding of Equestria. But there was nothing in those legends about how to defeat one if you didn't happen to be a dragon or possess the sheer power of Clover the Clever. "Let's run away! Why aren't we running away yet?" asked Bonbon, sounding slightly panicked. "Or I guess it would be more appropriate to say swim away? Yeah, let's do that. That thing's probably not fast enough to catch us, right?" "But we can't leave Scylla and the others behind," said Rock Beauty. "Just tell them to follow us," replied the earth-pounding mare. Lyra shook her head. "If we leave this thing unchecked, it'll probably keep rampaging. Attack the settlements underwater, then move on to Cayo El Bayo." "And the escaped slaves were fighting over the cow sharks over the ridge," said Bonbon, more to herself than the others. This was mostly news to Ditzy, Rock Beauty, and Lyra. Bonbon quickly filled them in on what they had seen on their way in. "So that means there's a bunch of wicked workers and ponies who used to be cow sharks?" "Lyra was the only one for a few minutes, and it took a lot out of her. Who knows how long those poor souls were transformed?" "You see, Shanty," Rock Beauty gasped. "Someone should go warn them!" Trixie had moved on to audio illusions, and the monster didn't really like the confusion. It destroyed the small building that had been uncovered, and another hand had slammed down to the bottom of the bowl they were all in. Rather than crack the altar-like structure Lyra knew was sitting beneath the kicked-up silt, a sound, not like a gong, echoed. The altar was much more solid than it appeared, possibly even was an enchanted piece. Lyra didn't know Trixie's magic sight spell, but she knew the plain spell sensing that most unicorns refer to as detect magic. It was really the only certain types of constructed and molded magical product. It didn't detect magic in its raw state. But in this case, it was enough for Lyra to see the altar that was fatally enchanted. A giant triangle seemed to glow from beneath the sand to Lyra's senses. Combined with what was seen with an earlier plan, was finally forming in her head. Long enough, but it was all they had. "I have a plan!" declared Lyra, turning to her friends. "And I need you two to help me," she added, pointing a hope to the aquatic ponies. Rock Beauty and Sea Shanty looked at each other confused. "What's this about a plan?" asked Trixie as she and the others slammed behind their cover. The blue unicorn seemed to wince, and brought hope to massage the base of her horn. "How long are you able to keep casting that many illusions?" asked Lyra, worried. Trixie shrugged. "I'll manage. Just organize that plan of yours already." Ditzy put a hope to her friend's shoulder. "Don't overextend yourself. We don't want you fainting on us." "You guys will need to run interference on that thing, while Sea City, Rock Beauty, and I sing," began Lyra. "Sing? What good is that going to do?" interrupted Scylla, frustration in her voice. Lyra was about to explain when their attention was drawn to Echidna. Their head was about to roaring unison once more, but this time the sound began to change pitch, growing higher and higher. Trixie knew what was coming. "Oh no! Protect your ears, Lyra!" she called, before she began screaming in pain. Lyra had never heard the noise before. It was like 10 times as painful as metal nails scraping on a chalkboard. It seemed to assault her horn, clearly making it impossible to cast anything, forcing her eyelids open so she could see Trixie failing to swim just beyond the rock formation. All 5 heads of Echidna had turned towards their screams. Thus suddenly, it started to noise, became somewhat muffled. At some point, stuffed something into their ears. It could feel the familiar presence of Bonbon on her back. Her mare friend had parted her fluffy mane and turned into a pair of makeshift earmuffs. wasn't perfect, but it was enough to relief to allow Lyra to brute force her way through the situation. Now is not the time for subtlety or holding back. She took hold of her lyre, lit up her horn, and let loose the mother of all power chords. Twirl! It was shoddily, it was painful discordant, and it made her non-unicorn friend current, but it also blasted right through the echidna's roar, completely canceling it and making the creature recoil in surprise and confusion. This gave them a quick respite, maybe not even a minute by Lyra's count. No time to explain. We act now. Bonbon, go update the others over to Ritz. Sea Shanty, Rock Beauty, we form a triangle around it. I'll mark the beat with my lyre. Just sing what you're saying to me in this cell. Everybody else, keep that thing where it is. Go! As he quickly ordered. So he had just enough time to kiss the nearby Bonbon on the nose before swimming off with her musician friends. The others were a bit taken aback, but his son commanded Lyra's voice. It took a second for them to react. Get to it, every pony! Declared Ditzy, getting every pony else, including assembling Scylla, to spring into action. Scylla quickly followed Rock Beauty, while Ditzy took off Sea Shanty, leaving Trixie to trail behind Lyra. The unicorn didn't have to look back, and no Bonbon had went off to perform her duty, but she did take a chance to glance at her, and made a very nice departing backside. This was a perfect chance to get Bonbon away from danger, all the while having someone perform a crucial bit of communications. Things might get worse before they're better. My name's Sea Shanty, by the way, to hear her sea pony friend say, as Ditzy and Swim ahead. Ditzy and Sea Shanty dodged ahead, going above and near it, respectively, and dodged the second one by swimming out of its reach. Scylla, meanwhile, tackled ahead, just as it was about to reach Rock Beauty, sent it off course just enough to avoid the Grey Merpony. Lyra heard Bonbon's voice coming from a short distance to her side, as Trixie used another illusionary sound. This time, she wasn't going to get greedy and would limit the number of voices to make it seem it was just one pony avoiding the attacks, rather than a whole swarm. Lyra got into position and saw Scylla and Ditzy begin to hit and run tactics on the nearby heads. It wasn't doing much damage on the creature's thick skin, but it was enough to annoy. Trixie had thrown her own voice into the mix, and had two of the heads distracted at once. Her friends were in position, so the unicorn went for her lyre and began to pluck single string to start the rhythmic bass. Once the basic tempo was established, she switched string as a single to her friends, and they all began to sing. Rock Beauty and Sea Shanty's song were fairly plain compared to the grandiose opening to the music she had participated in years ago. So was the piece on the wall, but they were all very familiar. In fact, Lyra quickly theorized that the three songs were actually three components of the same piece. It didn't take more than 2 measures for Lyra to mentally celebrate on being right. The three pieces of music played off each other instantly, supporting each other wonderfully. The three were pretty much lost in the music by the time they hit the first refrain, and their voices joined in harmony. Lyra began to feel something, some sort of tingling pulling her horn. She could also feel her mind's eye, as if magic itself was beginning to surge around her, as if coming out of the ocean itself. Then there was a loud roar, and Trixie tackled her out of the way as an oncoming head. Her eyes shot open, as the two spiraled out of control and disappeared in a cloud of silt, landing on the sandy ocean surface with a soft thud. Despite the spinning, Lyra had managed to see Echidna thrashing about as a fury, not like when Trixie had used multiple phantom sounds. Once he had swam out of the cloud of sand and regained a clear view, the two unicorns could see that both Sea Shanty and Rock Beauty had been knocked out of alignment. What happened? Asked Lyra, confused. It was fine, ignoring your singing until you hit the chorus. Then the stone altar thing beneath us began to softly glow this weird pink light in a triangle shape, and the monster just freaked out. It went straight for you and ignored my illusions. The monster's frenzy seemed to have subsided a little, now that the three ponies had stopped singing and let loose a powerful roar. The creature then began to furiously slam all 5 of its tentacle heads onto the stone altar, causing loud, muffled thumps to echo. Whatever it is you are doing, I think it was working, said Trixie. Lyra raised an eyebrow. How can you tell it was working if you don't know what I was doing? Because the bad guy hated it, the unicorn replied, matter-of-factly. Lyra gave her answer a smirk and shot a glance to the other side of the altar. Ditzy, Scylla, and the other two performers have regrouped and seem to be discussing something. Everybody seemed to pump to try something again. This little huddle broke off, and the duo headed back to their positions. "Let's get back out there!" declared Lyra. "Are you nuts? That thing won't let you finish your song!" Lyra had to admit, it felt good not being the most responsible member of the team anymore, and they knew exactly how to win this. This doesn't matter not being interrupted again by the giant monster they were trying to sing to defeat. They had spent most of the day unsure how to proceed, unsure what the situation was. Now, there was no doubt in Lyra's mind that today, victory began with a song. The Minty Unicorn saw her friend with a cocky grin. "I'm sure you, of all ponies, should understand. I can't let a performance go unfinished like that." Trixie sighed but returned the grin. "The show must go on." And with that, they both took off again. "Well, that did something after all," admitted Scylla. "I can't say I've been wrong at that point, but this thing isn't going to let us have our recital in peace." Scylla, Rockberry, Ditzy, and Sea Tanny all converged together on a nearby flank of Work Camp Pit after the frenzied monster had almost grabbed the two singers. Ditzy was frowning. "I spent all day not sure what to do next, and how the hell the sea ponies had been so nice to me. Then I met you mer ponies, and things got even more complicated, because I didn't want to tell you all to keep fighting. Then Lyra went missing, and we were all worried about her. We didn't know how to find her, or even how to save her." "How?" asked Rockberry, guessing there was one there. "But we now know how to win. That song you were doing was clearly not something the monster wanted to hear. We just need to keep it off of you three somehow." The reply growled a little. "Easier said than done. That tackle I did earlier probably did more damage to my shoulder than that creature's face. It's been crushing rocks with those heads without flinching. I don't think we can do damage to them." Ditzy focused both her eyes to glare at the creature, now pounding the sea floor and the structure found beneath the silt. One of her eyes wandered, and she could spot Lyra and Trixie on the other side. This gave her an idea. She wasn't one for fighting, but this might give them a chance to come out on top. "Then maybe we could go for the other parts of his body. Maybe that'll distract it enough." "What other parts? That thing is nothing but 5 heads and a chunk of flesh," replied Scylla. "Don't you remember when it showed up? There's an obvious weak spot on the top," said Ditzy, pointing a hoof at the main body of the creature. "We just have to target it. But it can't even reach us when its tentacles are there." Realization dawned in the dark blue of Pony's face as he smirked. "That's a great idea. Time for some payback, then. You need to bring some real pain when the girl starts singing, otherwise they'll ignore us again." "Well, I have an idea of that, but—" Ditzy began sighing. "I'm not really looking forward to it, and I don't even know if it'll work." Scylla stayed silent for a beat before speaking up again. "Then don't do it. I can't force you to do anything crazy for our sake. You have your own family to think of, after all. I'll do the dangerous stuff, and you can just watch our backs. This monster's been playing with our feelings, endangering the lives of my kid and making slaves out of them. I'll do anything to make sure this all stops right here, right now," she said, anger in her voice. Ditzy realized that, while rougher in attitude than the sea pony leader, Scylla was much more of a mother to her tribe in Cerebritus. Earlier in the fights with the cow sharks, she had seen the two leaders help each other, hoped they could become great friends going forward. Ditzy had no doubt that was going to be the case now. The two of them had a lot more in common than one might think. Ditzy shook her head. "I didn't say it was too risky for me. I just don't know if it'll be effective as I hope, but I'll still try it anyway." "That's decided. We'll get back into position," said Rockberry, earning a nod from Sea Shanty. Every pony nodded until he took off. Sea Shanty and Rockberry went out to retake their position, and Ditzy and Scylla swam out toward the top of the creature. It was too focused on trying to smash whatever was buried in the sea floor to notice their maneuvers, so their ascent was fairly easy. Before cresting the science saucer-shaped mass of monster flesh, Ditzy catch sight of Lyra and Trixie getting back into position as well. Finally, the Merpony and Pegasus could see their target, the monster's giant, unblinking eyeball. "That's just creepy." They did duck low when the pupils swept around their general direction, but its completely erratic movement continued, and they considered themselves to be safe. "Let's wait until Lyra plucks her lyre first," whispered Ditzy. It didn't take long. The first few notes began to ring out, setting up the tempo for the upcoming song. Go! Called out Ditzy, taking off upward while Scylla charged a giant eyeball. As he got to it, just as the creature's frantic being at the seafloor stopped. Clearly, it noticed Lyra's opening. It was about to focus its attention on the singers. Ditzy saw Scylla deliver a nasty tail slip to the eyeball, eliciting a roar. Just as he breached the surface of water, it took flight. So he ascended high into the sky as fast as he could to necessarily the height of the terminal velocity. Flight school was a long time away, but he could guess just how far she needed to rise. As he reached what was soon to be the correct altitude, she looked down and saw the creature's mass looking like a massive, dark shape looking under the surface of the water. It was crazy to think how dangerous the situation was from down there, considering how peaceful the surface was. A couple of seagulls even saluted her as they passed by. Well, it probably will be pleasant, but let's do it! She said to herself as she dove back down toward the dark shape below. Slapping that giant eyeball wasn't a very pleasant sensation. It was rubbery, squishy, and felt super slimy. Scylla's mind conjured up an embarrassing memory of being caught in a pile of decomposing kelp as a young kid. But it got into the creature's attention. The massive pupils swung around to stare at the merpony. It responded in a dignified and reasonable fashion, as befits a wise, benevolent leader. She stuck out her tongue and punched at his stupid nun-face. It was still slimy, but indefinitely more fun, because now the creature knew how she did it. The whole mass of creatures seemed to writhe in a combination of pain and anger. The people just seemed to run away from the attack, and Scylla could see the large heads peeking over the edge of the saucer section, futilely trying to reach her. Just as the anticipated tentacles were just too short. Stickering, she chased around the people to attack it, distracting it some more. Just below the trio of performers had reached the first refrain. This is going to be a critical point, where they needed to be a painful hit to make sure the monster couldn't go after the singers right away. Scylla could see the flashes of pink light they had seen coming out from below the saucer section. That's when Ditzy came splashing from the water in the air above. The massive creature wasn't that far from the surface by taking a perfect diving position for the Pegasus. Barely lost any speed as he fell straight into the massive eyeball. The entire thing went concave for a few seconds. Scylla half expected it to burst like a bubble. It, sadly, or thankfully, didn't. But it did spring back into shape, sending Ditzy flying back upward, spinning like crazy. The great Pegasus disappeared above the surface for a short while, before falling back into the water and being caught by Trixie. The kingdom went nuts, the whole mass quaking as the discordant roars came from the five heads. They began to beat furiously at the edge of the creature's own main body, attempting to swing just further inward. Scylla had to bail as the creature began to roll over, maybe intending to crush the offending creatures against the seafloor with its bulk. But it was too late. The musicians had finished the first refrain, were well into the second couplet of their song. Scylla cleared the main body, deftly swimming between the two berserk heads. Just in time to see the pink light of the altar flash upward and engulf the whole monster. That was pretty bold of you, commented Trixie as he let go of Ditzy. I like that side of you. You should be bold more often. Ditzy's instinct had been right. Touching that thing was even more unpleasant than he anticipated. Her shoulders were probably going to ache for days from the force of the impact. Good thing Pegasi were built to handle crashes. The spinning hadn't been all that fun either. But by opening her wings at the right moment, she caught a straight current of wind that allowed her to spin enough to let her fall back into the water, away from the monster this time. Still getting used to it, said Ditzy as he got her bearing and set some balance back. By now, Lyra, Shishi, and Rock Beauty had finished their beautifully harmonious refrain and were back into a different couplet, further than they had gone earlier. The music was incredibly enchanting, with one voice seemingly to chase the other up and down the musical scale, with the third one jumping in and out of the voices could switch roles. It was like kids chasing each other as they played with no clear rules to stifle their fun. The start of the second refrain was accompanied by a magnificent blast of pink light from the sea floor that engulfed the enlarged monster. It seemed to stop in mid-tumble, frozen in place, began to physically struggle against some unforeseen restraint. Ditzy found herself transfixed by the sight of shimmering pink light emanating from the triangle formation at the bottom of the sea. Lyra and her friends were also glowing, as if the song had gotten louder, and Ditzy felt soothing warmth spread throughout her body. Trixie guessed. This song, we're not actually hearing it with our ears. I don't understand how, but it's being transmitted directly through the magic in us. This song is actually calling out to the magic in all of us and the ocean itself. That's when they appeared. Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands of jellyfishes. All the moon jelly they had seen earlier in the day, and all the more when Ditzy had ever thought could live in an entire area. Oh my gosh! It's the jellyfish fields! All of them were glowing with the same pink light for the ritual, and it was pulsating to the rhythm of Lyra's lyre. They were all floating towards the site of the strange ritual, like a field of pink stars flying towards them. Trixie and Ditzy stood there, transfixed and silent. As the swarm of shiny jellyfishes danced into the current, it began to circle the still struggling echidna. So the entire monster disappeared behind a spear of glowing jellyfishes. Their light began to intensify, no longer pulsating to the sound of Lyra's lyre. And soon there was nothing else but a bright giant ball of pink light left in the middle of the seafloor depression. The song began to slow down, and, as if answering to it, the ball of light also began to shrink. It shrank smaller and smaller, compressing to a single point. As it sank, long single files of jellyfishes floated out from it, now back to their normal selves, danced away like enchanted ribbons. The voices of the three performers died out, and the warmth left Ditzy's body. In a final brilliant flash, the ball of light turned back to the lantern Bonbon had smashed earlier. Now, however, it was filled with pink glow, instead of the darker purple glow it had in the hose of echidna. Of echidna, there was no trace. Ditzy and Trixie swam back to the bottom of the work camp, where the lantern now laid, and met up with Scylla, Sea Santy, Rockberry, and the excited Lyra. That was amazing! She cheered and spitting on herself. I can't believe we just did that! You girls were just perfect, and the way the song works just blows my mind! It's incredible! I feel like something's awakened inside me. It's like a hole I had no idea was just filled up, commented Sea Santy. I know. It's like we really connected during that performance, added Rockberry, bringing Lyra and Sea Santy into a hug. Thanks a lot, you two. It was nothing, replied Sea Santy, blushing. So, that's it then? We won? Bad guy trapped in here or something? Asked Ditzy, gingerly nuzzling the ancient artifact. Just one teeny tiny problem. There's at least one chapter left. Well, except the epilogue. Mother! Group of statues by the sounds of cheering and hollering. They turned to see the group of escaped prisoners, Turbidus and Bonbon at the front, swimming down the slope towards them. Many of the prisoners were helping to carry the clearly weakened members of the group. Bonbon was actually helping Turbidus carry the young sea pony who looked a lot like the leader. Ditzy guessed the ones being carried were the former cow sharks. The one on Bonbon's back was probably Turbidus' daughter. Soon, all the mer ponies and sea ponies were crowding around them. What followed was a sullen myriad of hugs, tears, and congratulations, Trixie boasting, with Bonbon and Lyra locking lips all the while. The elation was short-lived, though, because that was when the shaking and rumbling began. Oh, what now? Asked an angry Scylla. That was when a massive piece of rock fell off Lucky Seagull Island and crashed into the sea. On 3. 1, 2, 3.